Hello, everyone. I had a really good intro that technology gave me before I came on stage. I was trying to make Alexa work, but Alexa didn't want to work. So we'll start with that. What I'm doing now is called emote. So I wanted you to meet the robot or the emotional machine, but the Alexa wouldn't let me. Maybe she was jealous. So the emote is an emotional machine that does what it likes, and not what you like. So if you were to go to emote and say, emote, open Chrome, emote would maybe say, let's do that in 2 hours. I'm having an anxiety attack right now. Or if you say, could you translate this sentence to French? He would be saying, well, let's do that later, I'm reading. Or if you say, could you send this email really quickly? And he'd be saying, I don't think so, I'm not feeling well today. So my question to you is, if you were to have an encounter with that kind of a robot, would you consider it to be a non-intelligent or a stupid machine? Yes, no? Some yes, some no? The thing is, actually, this machine is acting quite human, right? It's like, no matter how intelligent we are, we'll always have our bad days, right? You would feel down, you would be maybe interested in doing something else. So my question about artificial intelligence and why I'm doing these works that I'm doing is basically that we are exposed to artificial intelligence very one-sidedly. We have been presented by media that artificial intelligence is going to basically save the world. This is like the most important hype, and this is like where each industry is going to flourish if it applies artificial intelligence. But I would like us all to, during these like 18 minutes, think about this in different terms to see how artificial intelligence is limited for once and what happens when it's applied very uncontrollably to all areas of our life. So I guess you know these guys. They come from the center of power called the Silicon Valley. And one thing that Silicon Valley believes mostly, I don't want to insult anybody, is the exponential growth of computing power. And if I were to ask you how exponential growth looks like, it's basically a hockey stick. It's up and to the right, to the infinity, you know? And that sounds like a utopia to some people. And this is where singularity is going to happen, and we're all going to be in this technological heaven. So this is one theory. I personally am very afraid of one truth, so I would like to ask different questions. At the basis of this singularity or technological, heaven, is this idea that basically we as humans can be fixed by technology, that we're somehow broken, and this, super powerful computing machine or the future algorithms are going to help us. So I just want to give you an example of what's happening when AI crossovers to a different discipline. There was an experiment done in depression diagnosis, and it was done by an artificial intelligence algorithm. So it was fed a certain kind of data, and on 3,000 examples, it was accurate by 70% to diagnose people with depression. Great. Now imagine an HR in a company using that algorithm to determine whether you are prone to depression. So it asks you a couple of psychological questions. You don't know if there's an algorithm behind it. You answer honestly, and all of a sudden you are maybe classified as a depressed person or somebody who's prone to depression and you don't get a job. The problem with exponential growth of computing power applied to all kinds of industries is this: the humans are reduced to data or to data combinations. And this is very dangerous. So I would like us all to be aware of this and kind of take it with us and think about it when we hear another hype, of AI. Also, you probably watched WALL-E. I find it to be an impressively, accurate about the dystopia we're also fed by the same centers of power who believe in singularity and technological heaven. So basically, we destroy the entire Earth. We use all the earthly supplies, we leave trash here, and we go to Mars, right? Wonderful idea. Well, how about, first of all, we fix what we have right here while we still have time? So my question is, also, is dystopia the only future that we're facing? Or there is, again, more truths than only one. So if you know about Media Lab, I recommend you read all of their stuff, quite interesting research. But this guy who's leading Media Lab, Joichi Ito, he wrote a nice essay called Resisting Reduction. It's a manifesto basically to tell us how to think and how to try to integrate the machines that we're creating into our society and into our social thinking. So basically, he gave this beautiful explanation of what's going on. If you have cancer cells and healthy cells, cancer cells, they grow exponentially at the cost of everything else. So you cannot control them, you don't know where they're going to end up, they just eat up the whole thing and the organism dies. Healthy cells, on the other hand, are in an adaptive system. They adapt to one another and they don't grow uncontrollably. They maintain the system to be in balance. So basically the message here is this one. We're constantly being told that our future are machines, but what really is the truth is that we are bringing the machines into our future. So basically the responsibility is on us. The question in my artworks and the questions that I'm gonna do in my master's is really this. Like, what's going on with the whole human? What's with the empathy, intuition, ethics? What's on the other side of AI? How can we do this differently? One theory says that when machines take over, right, they're really good at simple jobs, and we're gonna become there's gonna be a useless class of humans that are gonna lose their jobs, right? That's one theory. But let's ask a different question. What are machines bad at? Any ideas? Feelings? Art? Okay. Yeah. All right. Exactly that. I put down some things, and I just want to thank Uroš for his lecture because it's brilliant. I love this little nuance of reading between the lines. For example, a machine is completely incapable of like reading emotional communication. Like if I say really nicely hi to you and I really don't like you, I feel that, right? But the machine is not going to know. So there is this field of uncharted territory that is waiting for us when the machines take over the boring jobs. I don't know if you've seen this campaign. They were playing on this like anti-drug kind of wording, and they did this for an art school. So basically, has your daughter been experimenting with art? You know, like with drugs? So basically, what's going on is that our uniquely human characteristics were the ones that our parents warned us about. Have you ever heard your parent asking you, when are you going to get a normal job? Yeah, I got that a lot. So I think we're in a really interesting situation. I think this guy Yoav from TEDx London was also talking about this, which is a brilliantly, uniquely human characteristics, and that is an imagination. So we create realities. So basically, in maybe a bit of an optimistic saying, we're able to imagine our future from now on, okay? This girl, Rita J. King, again, another recommendation. She's a futurist and a writer, a brilliant author. She's talking about the value of the imagination age, but in terms of like not just an optimistic, statement, but in terms of imagination economy. And I want to draw your attention to these numbers. This is the UK Creative Industries report from 2017. They're like growing twice as fast as any other industry. And this is how much they're grossing in to the budget. I find this to be amazing. So, to answer our parents' questions, when are we going to get a normal job? Well, now, right? So, you may have noticed the rise of gaming, virtual realities, augmented reality, stuff like that. That's all artistic fields, basically, combined with technology. So, I am a writer by vocation. I'm a world literature major. And what I do is I create narrative spaces instead of writing on paper. I let the space communicate with you, and I use technology for that. Now we're going to see a video. just a few bits about this piece. The idea was quite simple. I cannot really get you off your screens, right? We're all on our own interfaces. So the idea was to get you into this state where you would act as natural as you would act in like pure nature when you were alone. So people were screaming their, throats off. They were letting it go as if you were to go to the woods and scream. So I'm actually twisting the question differently. Let's think about nature by immersing in it through technology. You're going to think about it differently later on. The piece is called Liquid Sound. And also you can try it. You can scream your throat out here in the basement. I brought it with me, so it's installed. So I invite you to go there and let it all out. What really fascinates me right now is that you remember those guys, girls and boys who were drawing in math class, and like writing poetry, and their parents were worried. Well, guess what? They're now making really good money. So you have visual artists in medicine, in virtual reality diagnostics and learning. You have sculpture artists. There is a Belgrade-based company called Pirate Art. They're making 3D printed prosthetics, and quite well designed. There is musicians. We talked about it. Parents are so hopeless when they realize you're going to be a rock star. But these guys are working in audio diagnostics, for example, in plane industry or machines. So this is what's happening right now, and I find that to be fascinating. So, on a more positive term, if machines are bad at one thing, let's see what we're good at. We, the non-machines. Somebody was saying abstract thinking over there. I was thinking of a new term, and that is meta-thinking, but applied to humans. And what I've realized listening to all the lectures here is there's a lot of meta-thinking here. And that means like going from different layers and picking up stuff and uniting it in a new way and applying it to your own life. So I dare to say that we here are the metahumans. We have a lawyer who's a foodie, quite successful one. I learned that you were a radio major now in innovation. We had a designer who's also a writer. There's amazing combinations. There's coders who become politicians and senators. So currently what we can do and we should do in vast amounts is basically combine everything. And that's another thing our parents warned us against. I constantly get the question is when are you going to do just one thing? You cannot be a writer and an artist and a coach and this and that. And I'm like, well, I am. But what's happening right now is that we are multidisciplinary. And that's wonderful because this is what makes us unique as compared to machines, but also as a unique human beings. So this multidisciplinarity is basically something to be celebrated, not explained to mom and dad. But there's one important, maybe the most important thing in this optimistic meta-human theory, and that's responsibility. The thing that where we are right now, we have this AI hype on one side. We know what we can do as a human species uniquely. There's this huge responsibility in each of us, in each of our respected industries, and that's to be aware of our decisions. So basically, decisions that we make in technological terms, the technologies that we use, what we consume, how we consume it, do we recycle, we don't recycle, what do we buy, how do we buy it? All those things combined really are going to be, summing up to the future that we're going to live in, or our kids are going to live in. So there's this wonderful quote saying, you don't want to be surprised by the future you helped create. So I'm inviting you to think about that in all your respective industries. I had a discussion with Uroš. There was a very nice discussion of how we all can be or cannot be software developers. Basically, we don't have to be software developers, all of us, and we don't need to be. What needs to happen is that we should use some time to understand technology and try to influence decisions on a larger scale or on a smaller scale in our own lives. So this is the rethinking of the future we're able to do. And the imagination age theory is pretty optimistic, but for one thing, what I find interesting in it is this obligation. If you're imagining something and creating something, make sure you're responsible for it. You're not just, happily imagining stuff that, is going to hurt somebody else, because we have already that. So, also on the subject of the building of the future, maybe we should consider building a new internet, because we broke this one. So just open this question also. I don't know if you saw this, but there's a new law in EU that's basically forbidding you of sharing memes. Anyways, thank you. These are my links. What I would like you to take from this lecture is, one, multidisciplinarity. Don't be afraid of it. You are the metahuman, and please, please build the future you want to live in. Thank you.